Welcome to Conspiracist. Today we're taking a deep dive into a hypothesis that, well, it's been around for quite a while. The idea that governments, possibly worldwide, have intentionally hidden evidence of underground military bases.
Often called UMBs or sometimes DUMBs, deep underground military base.
Exactly. And these ideas circulate in, various communities. Our mission today is really to try and objectively evaluate the claims, the reasoning behind them, just based on the information that's out there.
Right, looking at what's being asserted and the kind of evidence or lack thereof presented.
We'll touch on claims about, the sheer scale, thousands of miles of tunnels, supposedly.
And the alleged purposes. Things like secret experiments, maybe collaboration with non-human entities.
Even refuge for leaders. And specific locations pop up again and again. Montauk, Dulce Base, even places like the Falkirk Triangle or facilities linked to companies like Lockheed Martin.
It's a pretty wide-ranging set of claims.
Definitely. So let's start with that first point. These claims of just vast underground networks.
Okay, so a core part of the hypothesis is this idea of extensive tunnel systems. Not just isolated bases, but interconnected ones.
Across the whole U.S.? Or even globally?
Both, according to many accounts. And sometimes they even involve claims of high-speed magnetic levitation trains operating within these tunnels. Really rapid transit between sites.
Wow. Okay, that paints a picture of, a massive hidden infrastructure project.
It really does.
So the immediate question that comes to mind is feasibility. How plausible is it that something on that scale, all that construction, could remain completely undetected? Especially with, modern GIS data, satellite imagery.
That's a huge hurdle for the hypothesis, realistically. Maintaining secrecy for a project of that magnitude would be incredibly challenging.
You'd think so.
Think about the logistics, the amount of excavation, moving materials, the workforce involved.
Yeah.
These things usually leave a trail, detectable signs, even if you're trying hard to hide them.
Right. It's not like digging a small bunker.
Not at all. We're talking potentially thousands of miles, according to some claims. The detectability factor is significant.
Okay, so let's shift from the scale to what's supposedly happening inside these bases. The claims get pretty varied here.
They do. One major theme involves allegations of secret genetic experimentation.
Like what, specifically?
Well, some narratives talk about creating chimeras or sometimes beast men, mixing human and animal genetics, or even more advanced things.
And where do these ideas come from?
Often, they cite anecdotal accounts, sometimes linked to supposed insiders, maybe people claiming knowledge about places like the alleged underground parts of Area 51.
Ah, Area 51 again.
Yes. These stories might describe attempts to manipulate human genes or create hybrid beings, sometimes involving transgenic tech or even cybernetics.
Okay, that's one strand. And then there's another, perhaps even more out there element, the idea of collaboration with non-human entities.
Right. The alien agenda aspect. This is prominent in many UMB narratives.
Driven by...
Again, often by individuals claiming firsthand experience or insider knowledge.
Yeah.
People like Phil Schneider, for instance, his accounts are often cited.
What did he claim?
Well, his narrative, as it's presented, includes alleged encounters, even battles with extraterrestrial beings, specifically Greys, inside an underground facility, often identified as the Dulce Base.
A battle.
That's part of his story, yes. And this ties into broader claims of a secret pact or collaboration between governments and these entities, all kept under wraps by massive cover-ups.
Okay. So experiments, alleged alien contact. But there's also a more maybe conventional alleged purpose, using these bases as sanctuaries.
Yes, that's another significant claim, that these facilities are designed as secure, deep shelters for strategic leaders and essential personnel.
Particularly in case of, say, nuclear war or some other catastrophe.
Exactly. Continuity of government planning.
Yeah.
And this aspect actually aligns more closely with known real-world strategic thinking.
We know governments build secure facilities.
Absolutely. We have historical examples, the Blue Ridge Mountain site, for instance, Site R, the Raven Rock Mountain Complex, or the FEMA facility sometimes mentioned, the National Radio System site. These are known, hardened locations.
And sometimes they accidentally come into public view, right? Like that plane crash you mentioned near Blue Ridge.
Correct. The 1974 crash near the Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center, which is part of that Blue Ridge complex, did bring some temporary media focus onto those kinds of continuity of government facilities. It shows these places do exist, though perhaps not on the scale or with the purposes alleged in the more extreme UMB theories.
Okay, let's zero in on some of the specific locations that keep cropping up in these UMB discussions. Montauk Island, New York. That's a classic.
It is. The claim there is often that the visible, decommissioned Air Force station is just, a cover.
For something much bigger underground.
Yes, a deeper, active complex.
Yeah.
And you hear stories about, urban explorers finding sealed tunnels or strange occurrences, which feeds into the lore.
And Montauk often gets tangled up with other conspiracy theories, too, doesn't it?
Very much so. Most notably, the completely unsubstantiated Philadelphia experiment story. It all adds layers of mystery to the location in those circles.
Then there's Dulce Base, New Mexico. You mentioned it earlier regarding Phil Schneider.
Dulce is huge in the UMB lore. It's often portrayed as a central hub, maybe the main hub.
The site of what? The alien interactions you mentioned.
Exactly. It's frequently depicted as a joint human-alien facility, a site of conflict, bizarre experiments. It's become almost legendary in these narratives. It's even inspired, fiction and games.
Interesting. And it's not just U.S. locations, right? You mentioned the Falkirk Triangle.
Yes, in Scotland.
Yeah.
It serves as an example that these kinds of underground-based conspiracy theories aren't purely an American phenomenon. Similar stories pop up internationally.
Suggests a kind of shared narrative structure, perhaps.
It could, yes. The idea of hidden government activities underground seems to have a broad appeal or resonance.
And finally, connecting back to known facilities, places like Raven Rock, that complex near D.C., sometimes called Harry's Hole.
Right. Raven Rock Mountain Complex. Its known history as a major Cold War continuity site makes it a natural candidate to be woven into these larger UMB network theories. It is an underground complex.
And the mention of defense contractors like Lockheed Martin possibly using natural rock formations, that sort of blurs the lines?
It does. It connects known secure facilities and major corporations involved in defense and advanced tech with the more speculative aspects of the UMB hypothesis. It makes the narrative feel perhaps more grounded to believers.
Okay, this is probably the crucial point. The evidence. What is actually presented to back up these claims? It sounds like a lot of it is anecdotal.
That's largely correct. A significant portion of the information, maybe the vast majority, comes from personal accounts, stories shared on conspiracy forums online, and individuals claiming to be insiders or whistleblowers.
Like those alleged Area 51 debriefings you mentioned.
Exactly. Sources that are, by their nature, very difficult, if not impossible, to verify independently. The reliance on testimony is heavy.
And what about visual evidence? People sometimes talk about photos or videos.
Yes, you do see references to things like purported images of strange aircraft, maybe described as plasma cloak stealth discs or something similar.
Entering bases through lakes? I think I've heard that one.
That's another element sometimes included, yes. Underground or underwater entrances. These images or videos circulate within the community, often presented as proof.
But their authenticity?
Highly questionable, usually. And their interpretation is subjective. They rarely stand up to rigorous analysis, the kind you'd expect in, say, scientific investigation or credible journalism. Government explanations for unusual sightings, like maybe atmospheric effects or known aircraft, are often just dismissed as part of the cover-up by believers.
Which brings us to the stark contrast with, well, verifiable scientific evidence. For such a supposedly massive global network, where's the scientific data?
And that's the core issue from a scientific perspective.
Yeah.
There's a real lack of supporting data from relevant disciplines.
Like geology or geophysics?
Precisely. We have technologies designed to look underground. Geophysical survey methods, things like GPR, ground-penetrating radar, or ER, electrical resistivity tomography, and MASW, which analyzes surface waves. These are used to investigate the subsurface.
And can they find things?
They can detect anomalies, yes. Variations in soil, rock density, potential voids or cavities underground.
Yeah.
But, and this is a big but, if their ability to definitively confirm the existence of large, intentionally concealed military bases is quite limited.
So finding a hole doesn't mean it's a secret base.
Exactly. Even if these methods detect a void, and maybe it's confirmed by drilling, that discovery doesn't automatically equate to a DUMB. It could be a natural cave, an old mine, a utility tunnel, any number of things.
And the methods themselves aren't foolproof.
No single method gives a perfect picture. There are limitations in depth, resolution, and interpretation. Sometimes knowing where you expect to find something can even influence how the data is interpreted. Research shows these techniques are useful tools, but they don't provide X-ray vision into miles of rock to reveal complex, hidden structures with certainty.
So the claims rely heavily on testimony, alleged leaks, maybe ambiguous photos. while the kind of broad scientific evidence you might expect for such large structures just isn't there.
That's a fair summary of this situation, yes.
Which leads us, I suppose, to think about the nature of conspiracy narratives themselves.
It does, because the UMB hypothesis fits many characteristics of a classic conspiracy narrative.
Defined how, generally?
Typically as an explanatory account that attributes significant events or circumstances to a secret plot by a powerful, often malevolent group.
The
Hidden hand guiding events.
and often resistant to contrary evidence.
Very much so. That's a key feature. The narrative structure itself can often incorporate or dismiss counter-evidence as part of the cover-up.
These aren't new phenomena, obviously, but maybe amplified today.
Absolutely. While conspiracy theories have always existed, major events, societal anxieties like pandemics, for instance, can intensify them. And modern communication, especially social media, allows them to spread incredibly quickly and widely.
And trying to debunk them point by point.
Can be difficult.
Yeah.
Research suggests that for individuals strongly committed to a belief, simply presenting contradictory facts often isn't effective and can sometimes even strengthen their conviction. It's a complex psychological and social phenomenon.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive today. We've looked at this hypothesis of intentionally concealed underground military bases.
We cover the claims about their potential scale, the vast networks and tunnels.
Right, and the alleged activities inside secret experiments, supposed alien collaborations, used as leader sanctuaries.
We touched on specific, frequently mentioned locations like Montauk, Dulce, and Raven Rock, and how they fit into the narrative.
And critically, we discussed the nature of the evidence, mostly anecdotal, testimonial, lacking independent verification.
And contrasted that with the absence of verifiable scientific evidence, despite the existence of subsurface detection technologies, which have their own limitations and interpretative challenges.
Highlighting that crucial distinction between personal accounts or online claims and scientifically substantiated proof.
And we briefly considered how these claims fit into the broader context of conspiracy narratives.
It's certainly a topic with many layers.
Indeed.
Thanks for listening to Conspiracist.